Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Bright Works and another match Beyond All Reason, where today we're once again taking a look at a match on supremacy. I know we just took a look at that Tsar Rush that did look pretty clean, but this one was sent over and it also looked like a really cool replay. So I figured we double dip a little bit and take a look at what exactly goes down in this match. Now, something pretty funny happened here. You can see a blue ping mark from the blue team leader Swamp Turtle has been placed right where Ephemera has spawned right here. The red team leader as Cortex. Apparently the blue team well onto the shenanigans that the red team is up to. Maybe this means this is on the back end of a lobby that was up for a little while. Maybe this means that these two commanders know each other, but either way, I definitely expect a little bit of back and forth shenanigans between the blue commander and the red. All the way in the back line, basically as far away from that position as you can get, is our blue team leader. Gonna be going for some Cortex air units, and I'm happy to see it. Looks like we've already requested a scout and a transport as well here for Theano, the Cyan commander. Going to be playing as the naval commander here, spawning on the beachhead position and going to be getting out into the water nice and early. So the question on everybody's minds, are we going to go for a naval expansion here, or are we just going to go ahead and go for bots and pork and maybe help out around the map wherever possible? Usually, if you can pull it off, if you can manage to get a naval expansion out either in the cove over here or on the side over on this side, usually it can actually be really, really useful, and you can end up getting a lot of value out that way. But it's really hard to get that up and running. The first couple of engagements are really choicey, really pricey, and definitely can throw you off of your regular ride, for lack of a better term there. Now we do have a scout already headed across the map, and this is good to see. It's a scout plane that was handed over here to the red commander, and it's headed directly towards the base of the Theano. I don't mind it one bit because we're probably looking for the transport that is headed right on over in this lane right here. These commanders must have played against each other. There's no way they haven't, because with these timings so exactly on point, I imagine we're well aware of each other's shenanigans, and indeed this scout plane does find that transport plane, and likewise the scout plane here for the Cyan commander going to discover that it's been discovered. A little bit of back and forth there. Transporting a constructor around over here to try and set up some metal extractors. Always love to see that. We are going to go for quite a few of these constructors here. I imagine we're going to go into a couple of res bots, and eventually we will even get an anti-air bot. Cool stuff indeed. Frontline being well contested right here by the purple commander. Love the control on the res bots right here. It looks like we're eating up from the far side of this, the harder side to maintain control over, and then pushing our way backwards, or falling our way backwards to maintain control over this, while also managing to eat up a whole bunch of that juicy metal. Grunt's going to fight into the pawns right here in a fabulous trade right now for the purple commander. I believe only a single grunt going down right there. My goodness. Definitely very well worth it. Oh, Resbot getting a little far forward there. Got to be so careful not to lose those. So far, though, excellent control right now for the blue team, and a tremendous metal advantage as far as the early game metal control goes, at least over the middle of the map. El Cubano going for vehicles here. Means that commander is going to be shy on units for a good long while. Let me adjust the camera right there. There we go. We can see construction tower going to help out with building units around the base, reclaiming trees and plants and whatnot. Useless flora to turn into much more useful metal and energy and all that good stuff. And it looks like eventually Ephemera will indeed go for the Naval Lab. What did I call him earlier? I feel like I horribly mispronounced this name. I'm sure somebody's already gone to the comments about it, but anyway, Ephemera, the red commander here. Yeah, okay, cheeky little strat here. Not all too uncommon, but definitely a cool one. Gonna be transporting around some of that build power and transitioning into an Navy lab. We do have the resbots here to eat up this lab as well, so we're gonna be utilizing this 600-ish metal that's put into the bot lab here. All looks fairly well. Going into the back line, we have a Cortex air player for both teams. Oh no, these are way too close together. All right, quick learning moment here. Hold on, I'm going to pause the game. Quick learning moment, because I've seen this a lot recently, so I think it's time that I bring it up again. When you're building wind turbines, if you build them too close to each other like this without any spacing in between, they are liable to chain react if ever anything bombs them. It takes three across in order to chain react. So what you want to do is hold down left, alt, and shift, and then hit Z or X. Z is in Zulu or X is in X-ray in order to space them out. Z spaces them and X closes the spacing. That spaces them out by 1, and then you can see even just 1 click away like that, and they won't chain react. Okay, learning moment over. Back to the game. Piggy here, going to be sending out constructors all over the place, probably looking to snag the island over here. Oh, there's a little bit of an air trade over here I missed. As you can tell, two of these commanders hugging it out on the shoreline right here. It looks like the commander of Desker going in for a hug with King Zazar. That's going to be a whole lot of metal available right now, and I imagine that's what this constructor is headed on over to do. Reclaim some of that juicy mass. We're actually just going to build metal extractors over there. Not the end of the world, but a big leak through right now will spell disaster on the build. Oh, and the backline, flat E. Losing so many wind turbines right there. A critical moment. At the very least, the geothermal stays up and running. Definitely uncomfortable, though, here for the Maroon Commander, who is planning for a very tight build and is now going to be thrown off pace by quite a reasonable margin. Hold my weed in Zagrav. Moving forward, claiming those 4.5, or pardon me, 4.3 metal extractors. Pushing El Cubano off the line. And, of course, because of that run by, death sentence is pushed back a little ways here and going to be on the back foot. The claiming the island over on the northern side. Lovely stuff right here. Metal extractors have already been claimed on the shoreline over here. So that does mean, at least for the time being, the Red Commander's economy is going to look fairly good. However, the Cyan Commander is matching perfect pace. Commander Sacrifice over here. We're going to blow up the Commander on the shoreline here to get a bunch of metal to fund the rest of this T2 transition directly into the T2 units. We're going for some Mauser off the cuff here. 4 Mauser and then into a T1 Constructor. Love to see it. Definitely looks like a very well-practiced build. Always excited to see those. Similar story over here, but obviously, again, slowed down a little bit by the fact that we've lost some metal extractors, we've lost some units, we've lost some wind turbines, and definitely lost some energy converters. Those are really important. Oh, nice little drop over here, though. Very, very nice little drop over here. The moving forward here, I'd love to see this on hold fire and then actually capturing the middle extractors. If your opponent went through the liberty of building them, you might as well take the liberty of stealing them. But of course, blowing them up helps you out tremendously as well, and obviously capturing them takes quite a bit of time, and you don't really want to waste all that all too often here. Grunts are going to be rallied backwards this direction. This is an unguarded commander, so its only real method of defense is the D-gun, which of course it can fire off whenever it has 500 energy, but it's not like that is an unlimited resource at the disposal of the at least not yet here. We're almost to 500 energy per second coming up slowly. But at some point, the commander will run out of energy, and the Grunts will have an opportunity to jump on top of it. We do have to be careful, though. It is headed directly towards these mexes. Ephemera actually moving their commander towards, probably planning to intercept. Oh, very risky. Commander can always D-gun yours out of the sky. Gotta be so careful. Okay, no D-gun right there from the Cyan Commander. Means Ephemera will trade out with the Cyan. Got a little bit of a trans call over here on the backside, trying to get some transports up and running here. The taking heavy damage, and they will both go down. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Resbot's obviously going to get to work picking up all this stuff. We can actually resurrect a lot of these metal extractors that weren't completely destroyed, so that's always nice. We can build 3 of the 4 of those. And then, of course, we can eat up these commander wreckages to go for some juicy, juicy navy. With that amount of metal, we can definitely field a navy big enough to crush the opposition right here. But it's a tricky gambit because you have to actually get that metal into your bank and then into the seas, and getting that transition done without losing everything, oftentimes much harder to do than it is to say. Frontline not looking well right now for the red team. Definitely a mess of a game. We've got some wild strategy all over the place here. Love to see that the blue team is committed to their plays, though. You can certainly see the idea behind every build has been well refined here. We've got T2 constructors handing out at this point in order to, well, not handing out, I guess we're doing this real capitalist style and paying for these and all that good stuff. But anyways, T2 constructors up and running is the most important part of that. Loads of frigates going up against loads of frigates and destroyers. I guess there's destroyers for both groups here. Smashing directly into the face of the enemy. Well, I was going to say not the ideal situation here, but Cortex does have the health to do it. I guess it's just not ideal for Armada to be facing directly into that. And you know what? We're going to get the destroyer here as well. And that was a really fabulous trade. All right, you know what? I stand corrected. Smashing headfirst directly into the enemy, apparently exactly the right idea. So many of these frigates on so low health, but still somehow managing to stay alive. Miraculous right here for the Red Commander, taking a fight that's 100% more efficient than it otherwise should have been. Finally, that destroyer goes down, and that was what was keeping these res submarines at bay. We should see, yeah, there we go, some res submarines going out for the Red Commander as well, and surely we'll have some more destroyers going up shortly. That's the advantage of all that metal, though. Able to put it out on the field, and it's only a couple of boats, but the way that that advantage accelerates exponentially as you get more and more boats means that that advantage expresses itself as a complete and total naval victory right here for the Red Commander. Aside from the fact that these res subs are actually eating a lot of this metal. Yeah, you know what? A lot of metal going back to the Cyan Commander here. We need to build up an army. I think frigates are probably going to be the desired choice, but now we have a submarine going around in the side, poking away at those metal extractors, shutting down some of the very key economy right now for the Cyan Commander. Meanwhile, the front line, help, T2, cry out El Cubano, being pushed back by those T2 Mauser, never a comfortable situation. The Mauser, one of the most powerful early T2, early mid-game units that there is. Capable of blasting away all but the sturdiest of units in just a few rounds of withering firepower. Medium tanks trying to jump on top of them, but you know what? The Mauser will hold. Grunt's eventually going to finish the job here, I do believe. Mauser in full retreat at this point. Couple of them get caught right there. Oh, that's a lucky dog. 0% HP left on that Mauser as it manages to retreat back. But that is a very, very nice play right there from the cyan green, the lime green commander. The neon green commander. Very good stuff indeed. Naval field contested on the southern side still, just barely. We're pushed all the way back to the lab right here, which does look pretty dire right now for Dusker. Certainly going to be able to finish this off as we grab these metal extractors out in the water right now for King Zazar, but it's only a matter of time. However, a matter of time that you cannot afford to laze around in. You have to be absolutely on top of it. Otherwise, yeah, you end up in a weird situation where suddenly you find yourself with much less Navy because your opponent has been way on top of production where you've ecoed, and all the money in the world won't help you when the guns start blazing. Units, the name of the game. Well, beyond erasing the name of the game, but units, definitely an important constituent part of it. Just like that, all that metal that was reclaimed right here, put back out on the seas. You know what? Despite a fabulous trade right there, I think the Red Commander got a little bit overzealous about their overconfident in how effective that trade was. Ends up actually taking a fairly mediocre fight at best right there against the Cyan Army, which is now looking quite powerful. At this point, the amount of metal out on the field right here for the Cyan Commander, about 6,000, versus the Red Commander, about 4,000. We don't have supply values in this game, so we have to go by metal cost per army. Relatively, roughly speaking, determining how powerful it is, more or less. Obviously, some big grains of salt depending on which units are making up the bulk majority of that metal. 6,000 metal in Razorbacks versus 6,000 metal in Pawns is going to be a completely different story. Yeah, we were going to go for the advanced Geo. I think probably the right decision here to cancel that project. Eating up the Geo right here and opting to go for some units instead. T2 Lab, up and running. T2 Mexes, also up and running. Most of them, anyways. We are in desperate, dire need of some support on the front line, though. So far, a very clean push right here from the blue team. About as steady as she goes. Moving forward, slowly but surely, using those missile trucks for the vision, using the medium tanks for the assault, and eventually bringing down the orange commander right here. Beautifully, beautifully done. Lovely stuff. Missile trucks having a field day against these grunts. We've hit that critical threshold where we can start to snipe grunts relatively efficiently with the unit support right here. I don't see how this front line holds without some sort of serious contributions from the back. We do have a never-ending stream of ticks leaking out of the backline right now. The yellow commander, who is opting to go for some of that wind turbine economy, instead forced to pump out en masse T1 units. Not the end of the world, but certainly not the best composition. It's a very cheap one, so it's definitely that. By that metric, you could certainly say it's the best. Geothermal goes down. Really inconvenient for the Maroon Commander. Definitely wishing that they had sent a constructor to go build some wind turbines or something else over here. Again, with the spacing on the wind turbines. These are actually still too close. They will still chain react, just very, very slowly. In fact, it's hilarious to watch because it looks like a fuse going off in slow motion. Big air pull over here. Okay, we're going for some gunships. These are T1 going up against T2, though, so those Valiants will fall out of the sky pretty quick against the Nighthawks. A little bit of anti-air on the water and on the land over here for the Red Commander, but still definitely not going to be enough to shoot down all of these fighters quick enough. And the blue player gains complete aerial superiority. Now the gunship's firing away over here. Don't mind those one bit. Relatively cheap as far as T2 goes. They are a grand total of 370 metal for a little AoE burst of damage. They're definitely powerful. The frigates, supremely annoyed by how much those are actually doing. Ending up firing mostly at the airships in the sky rather than the boat units that are pushing forward right now. Oh, nice reclaim right there. That was a slick little move. The Red Commander reclaiming the lab at the last second to make sure that the metal goes back into his pocket as opposed to wasted out on the shore over here. And we are going for a T2 transition, by the way, which is well worth noting. Eventually, the Red Commander will have the forces to push back right here, but we're going to need a different avenue of attack. Either pushing forward through this beach lane over on the northern side, or pushing forward to help our teammates over here, and eventually breaking back in from this coastline. Either one of those is going to work, but neither of them viable for this exact moment. And the gunships are here, not going anywhere. With Nightwing support, they're going to be really difficult to deal with. Cubano's commander uncloaked on the front. Oh no. Commander cloaks a little too late. Those Wasp missiles collide with that commander and bring it down in just a couple of volleys right there. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Whoa, pardon me. From the, not even sure what that command was. From the blue commander right here, using those Wasps, those early T2 Wasps to blast apart these bases over here. It looks like we rezzed the geothermal, but didn't hand it back over. Definitely a little bit of a bummer right here for the maroon commander, who was probably hoping to, at some point, receive that geothermal once more. And here are the Wasps blasting apart this base over here. The air player effectively wiped out. There's no more T2 fighters available right here. And this fighter in the background, slowly but surely picking apart all the fighters that come out of the lab, eventually will go down. But the never-ending stream of fighters being sent to the front to guard these gunships is phenomenal. I never understand why exactly 0 people have AA. The truth of the matter is just about everybody had AA, but it was only light AA, and light AA will only get you so far against the T2. You can see here, the T2 have absolutely no problem blasting apart that light AA. Thistle's no dilemma for the gunship armor here. Certainly not going to scratch the paint on these gunships, or maybe just about only scratching the paint on the gunships, but no severe damage will be done. There we go. Energy converter right next to the build power will ensure that all of it chain reacts. Wind turbines light up like a Christmas tree, and just like that, the air player is knocked out of the game right here. Just a couple of gunships doing their very most right here. The Wasps firing away in the background. Lovely, lovely stuff. I want to get a real close-up shot of a Wasp firing. There we go. That was pretty good. These bad boys are epic. Love the little gunships. Totally remind me of Command and Conquer style gunship bomber things. I forget what they were called. I believe they were a. I want to say that they were a GDI unit. Can't remember exactly though. Piggy sent back to the Stone Ages. At this point, the blue team need only make units and push. A very simple equation. A very simple spell. And yet one we see all the time right here. Geothermal, advanced geothermal actually, set up over on the high ground here. Love to see that. Efficiently extracting tons and tons of energy. Natural resource from the ground. Red Commander. Overflowing tremendous resource right now. Trying desperately to build some more build power so that we can get ourselves back into the game right now. But it is always a little bit uncomfortable trying to figure out how many of those construction towers to go for when your team is already losing every front line simultaneously. Beautiful Judo missile, my goodness, beautiful Judo missile connecting right there, taking out a whole bunch of those ticks. Not that the ticks were tremendously important, they weren't gonna save the day here, I don't believe. But of course, they are valuable as a little bit of a distraction. They're also good for scouting information. Gunships firing into the crowds of grunts over here. For the most part though, just waves of grunts passing by each other in the night. Like silent ships in the dark. Big old Eradicator bundle over here will be enough to shoot down most of those fighters coming in, which is good to see. Fighters are relatively expensive. It's worth noting these are 135 metal apiece. It's not a cheap thing to lose a bunch of fighters to a bunch of static defense. Probably one of the easiest ways to lose units, metal per metal, is via fighter. Which is why it's so important that they're used in the right circumstance and for the right job at the right time. Probably the hardest thing about using air units, in my opinion. Figuring out if each trade is well worth it or not. Yamato's commander, standing stoically, and now sitting 6 feet below the earth. Still stoic, but 6 feet down, in a crater of their own making. Lovely push right here. Pulling the trigger as soon as the frontline units were up and ready. The Mauser had already been waiting there from the early game. Metal Extractor under fire right now. Starlights in the background also blasting away at a lot of this stuff, which is cool to see. The Starlights are a really, really useful harassment force, but very prone to being jumped on by any sort of assault unit at all. Means you have to be very careful with them. In this case, the gunships will eventually clean all this up. Lovely play right here from the, I'm guessing the yellow commander, or maybe the, yeah, these must have been handed over by the yellow commander from Micro. A couple of fighters heading across the map at this point. Trying to anyways. Mostly just getting shut down, though, by the blue commander. Submarines catching a whole contingent of forces over here on the southern sea. The one side where the red team has any sort of advantage at all. Even that is crumbling quickly, though. Yeah, destroyers moving forward right here. Not gonna have too much trouble with the submarines. You do hit a critical mass at some point of submarines. We might be close to it. I think it's about 10. Yeah, we've got 9. All right. Definitely plenty of submarines here then to start harassing some of these. But it looks like with all of the front lines disassembled, the shorelines in ruin, and basically no hope of rebuilding an economy at scale with the blue team, a couple of those Wasp gunships, so hard to say that, will end up taking the victory here in this game beyond all reason. Lovely stuff from the blue team. Love to see a single key unit being utilized extremely effectively, supported properly, and eventually showing us what they've got. Thanks a ton for watching. I sure hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.